Alright everyone, today we are going to analyze a very interesting strategic problem, a problem that many military planners have debated for decades. The question is simple: what would actually happen if the United States attempted a ground invasion of Iran? Now, when people hear this question, their first instinct is to think about weapons. They think about missiles. They think about fighter jets. They think about nuclear programs. But the real reason a U.S. ground invasion of Iran would be dangerous has almost nothing to do with weapons. It has everything to do with geography. Because if we look carefully at the map, Iran is not just another country in the Middle East. It is a natural fortress. And this fortress has trapped armies for thousands of years. So, today we are going to examine three things. First, the geography of Iran. Second, the strategy the United States would likely use in a war. And third, the reason that strategy might fail. Whenever we study geopolitics, we must start with the map, because geography shapes strategy. If we zoom out and look at the Middle East, most of the region is relatively flat. Countries like Iraq and Kuwait consist largely of open desert terrain. This type of environment favors modern armies. Tanks can move quickly. Supply trucks can travel long distances. Aircraft can operate with minimal interference. But Iran is very different. Iran is dominated by mountains. Two enormous mountain systems surround the country. To the west lies the Zagros Mountains, stretching for more than 1,500 kilometers along Iran's western border. To the north lies the Alborz Mountains, which protect the region surrounding Tehran. Together, these mountain ranges form a massive natural defensive barrier. For any invading army, this creates a major problem, because mountains change the nature of warfare. They slow down armored units, they disrupt supply lines, and they create natural ambush points. Military planners have long recognized that Iran's mountainous terrain provides extensive defensive positions against invasion, but mountains are only the first obstacle. Beyond them lies something even more difficult, part to the Iranian plateau. Inside the mountain ring lies the Iranian plateau. This plateau covers most of the country, and much of it is covered by desert. Two deserts dominate eastern Iran, the Dasht-e-Kavir and the Dasht-e-Lut. These deserts are among the harshest environments on Earth. Temperatures are extreme, water is scarce, and crossing them with large armies would be extremely difficult. From a military perspective, deserts create enormous logistical problems. Every soldier needs water. Every vehicle needs fuel. Every kilometer stretches supply lines, and the longer those supply lines become, the more vulnerable they are to attack. So when you combine mountains and deserts, Iran becomes something strategists often describe as a natural fortress, and history confirms this. Throughout centuries, invading forces have struggled to conquer the Iranian plateau. Even powerful empires had difficulty controlling the region. But geography alone does not explain why invading Iran would be so difficult, because modern military technology is supposed to overcome geography. Or at least, that is the theory. Now let us consider how the United States typically fights wars. Modern U.S. military doctrine follows a predictable pattern. First comes decapitation. This means targeting leadership, command centers, communication systems. The goal is to paralyze the enemy's decision-making ability. Second comes air superiority. American aircraft dominate the skies. Enemy air defenses are destroyed. Military bases are bombed. Infrastructure collapses. Third comes internal pressure. Economic sanctions, cyber warfare, support for internal opposition. Together, these actions create pressure both inside and outside the enemy state. And in many conflicts, this strategy has worked. It worked in Iraq. It worked against ISIS. It worked in Libya. But Iran is not Iraq. And this is where the problem begins. Because when this strategy is applied to Iran, something unusual happens instead of weakening the country. It may actually strengthen it. To understand why, we must consider Iranian society. Iran is not simply a modern state. It is one of the oldest civilizations in the world. Persian history stretches back thousands of years, and this historical identity still shapes how many Iranians see themselves today. When outside forces threaten that identity, nationalism often increases. Political divisions that once separated the population begin to disappear, and suddenly the country becomes more unified. This phenomenon has appeared in many wars throughout history. External threats often create internal unity, so a foreign invasion might not destabilize Iran. Instead, it could rally the population around defending the country. But even that is not the most dangerous factor. The most dangerous factor is time. The United States military is designed to fight short wars, wars where overwhelming force produces quick victory. But Iran does not need to win quickly. Iran only needs to prevent the war from ending. This is where guerrilla warfare becomes important, instead of fighting directly against a superior. Military defenders rely on mobility and persistence. Small units hide in mountains, they attack supply lines, they disappear, then they attack again. The goal is not to defeat the invading army in open battle. The goal is to exhaust it. History shows how powerful this strategy can be. In Vietnam, the United States fought a long war against guerrilla forces. In Afghanistan, powerful armies spent decades fighting insurgents hiding in mountains. Iran's geography makes this strategy even more effective. Mountains provide hiding places, valleys create ambush points. And the size of the country stretches supply lines across enormous distances. Iran's complex geography of mountains and deserts significantly increases its defensive capacity against land invasion. This creates a dilemma for any invading army. Entering Iran might be possible, but controlling it would be extremely difficult. Iran is nearly 4 times larger than Iraq. It has more than 80 million people, and many of its major cities are protected by mountains. Reaching these cities would require enormous effort and resources. This means a war could easily turn into a long conflict, and long wars create political and economic pressures. Public support declines, costs rise, allies become hesitant. Eventually, the question changes. It is no longer about winning, it becomes about whether the war is worth continuing. This is why many analysts believe a ground invasion of Iran would be extremely risky. Not because the United States lacks military power, but because geography, nationalism, and time combine to create a very difficult strategic environment. Mountains slow armies, deserts stretch supply lines, and prolonged wars weaken even the strongest countries. History teaches us an important lesson. The strongest armies do not always lose because they are weaker. Sometimes they lose because they underestimate the battlefield. And in the case of Iran, the battlefield itself may be the most powerful defense of all.